Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how I made these 16 bars of dubstep using stock LMMS instruments, so no VSTs or anything. So first off, let's start with the leads. This part is playing the break, which is at the end of the 4 bars of dubstep, and then you have the second section, which also has the same lead, which plays basically this bit. In the whole section, it sounds like this. So all it is just a sound. You can pick any waveform you want. I high-passed it, which was useless. I put a chorus on it because why not? Alright, now let's go to the second sound. Now, what is this? This is like some kind of Skrillex type Screech thing. So what I did is I took Zinad sub-effects, turned up the frequency a bit, and then all I did is pick one saw wave. So only one voice. There's no other voices. I used the power waveform, which is the saw wave, and then I basically added a frequency LFO on a really high frequency, so it basically makes it sound really screechy by making the vibrato effect really fast. If I put this down slower, it'll sound like this, which is like nothing, which is just literally the saw wave itself. But once you have that speed of vibrato really fast, it starts to get screechy because it's moving between different notes so fast that it just doesn't make sense anymore, and then you get this. And then in the mix, it sounds like this, which is something that I found cool, also something that I learned recently. Now to the ARPs, I have Bit Invader, another saw wave with low pass to make it less audible because it's meant to be a background element. Then I have an amplifier to turn it down because Bit Invader is so loud that just with the volume knob would make it really hard to adjust the volume properly. So I use an amplifier to like normalize the overall volume so I don't have to put the volume knob all the way down. So this thing basically sounds like this. Oh yeah, and the reason it sounds really plucky is through the volume and cutoff envelopes I did here. So the low pass, which is at 1.5k hertz, I did a cutoff envelope so it starts at the top and then it quickly cuts down to the bottom. So when I press it, it goes like tew. If you know what I mean. Basically it just plays a really short amount of sound, and it's basically like plucking a guitar. Alright, onto the chords. Now, I have 2 chords, which is just basic saw chords with a bit of white noise, just a slightly bit of white noise, and detuning, a lot of detuning to make it sound thick. Also have an equalizer. I don't know what I did there, but some experimenting with frequencies and evening stuff out. So I get this one, and then I have the second one, which is a slightly higher saw wave. Now it's basically the same, but it only has one oscillator on the saw wave, and then I high passed it around 500 hertz to make it not interfere with the lower chords. And then I also did some dipping here so it wouldn't interfere with a lot of stuff, and together they sound like this. Just the bottom one, it sounds like this, and just the top one, it sounds like this, and both of them, they sound like this. So that's kind of making it thicker. Now the bass, it literally only appears at the break at the end of the 4 bars, so it just sounds like this. So it's just a normal square wave, one oscillator only, and nothing much, no effects, nothing. The only thing I did was in the mixer, I do have an equalizer and I narrowed it out to about 200 to 500 hertz, so it wouldn't interfere with the chords again, because you don't want them to clip. That's basically the bass. Now the sub is simple, just saw wave, single oscillator with a low pass on 170 Hz, and then that's it, nothing else. Here I just used a, oh god, you can't even see it properly. I did some cutoff automation. So this is the low pass frequency, and I'm automating it by making it go like wob wob. Because the growls underneath also follow this similar pattern, so I have to make it match with the sub as well. Alright, now to the drums. Yay. I have a kick. Yeah, a kick. Bit of equalizing. Then I sent it to the kick chain with a bit of limiter. I just used a kick from Cymatics, dubstep kick, and I also had this kick high accompaniment thing which plays this. Now what that does is just fill up the second bit of the kick to make it slightly fatter. So what I did with the volume envelope of this one is I added some pre-delay. So it plays only after the initial big hit plays. So together they sound like this. Without the accompaniment it sounds like this. You can hear that at the end as a bit of shaker kind of effect. Like a kick and then a shaker release thing. Yeah, so that's basically the kick. Then you got the snare. I layered it with a clap. Now the clap has some reverb on it, play 2x2 reverb, there's some high pass on it, and then the snare. It has nothing. Literally nothing but a snare. I also send these both to the snare group. Never mind, there's nothing on it. To the hi-hats. I have two hi-hats. One's playing one pattern, the other one's playing another pattern, so hat 1 is playing this pattern. I had nothing, but I sent it to the hi-hat group, which had an equalizer, some stereo matrix to make it wider, and then compression. And then I have hi-hat 2, which sounds like this. It's slightly faster, but it's also playing a different pattern. So together they sound like this. And with all the drums together, they sound like this. Yep, so that's basically that. Now on to the growls, yay, the fun bits. God, please help me, there's so many automations. Let's start with the first one. What does this one sound like? Oh yeah, this one is the most interesting sound you can ever get. I have ever gotten, at least, in triple oscillator. So what is happening here is, first off, I don't have oscillator 1 on. I only have oscillator 2 and 3. And they're both on sine waves. Really high. Once the oscillator 2 is higher than oscillator 3, and I'm using FM. If I put the note really high, it doesn't sound like what is happening here. Now why is that? Because I'm automating these coarse detuning bits, which make it sound a bit like a telephone, I guess.
Please stop, I want to commit die.
Like a bit like dial-up, you know? I also, like, you know, got inspiration from Virtual Riot's Recall song, where his drop was literally telephone sounds, and it was two really high sine waves FMing each other, and they're really high. Yep, that's how I did this. This one is just the automation of oscillator 2's coarse detuning, and this one is, what is this one? Oh, this one is envelope decay, so we'll talk about that later. This one is oscillator 2 detuning, this is oscillator 3 detuning, so making both the oscillators, you know, vibrate in pitch to make this telephone sound. And the reason I had a envelope decay automation is because I add this longer note at the end, which needs the note to be longer, because I also have an envelope here, which is kind of like a longer pluck. You can hear it's like a pluck, but it's slower. With this longer note, I need that pluck to be longer to fill up the whole note, so that's why I needed to automate this decay knob right here to make it longer or shorter, depending on the note length. Alright, on to the second growl. This is the initial hit, actually. Sounds like this. So, I did it with Monstro. First time doing it with Monstro. I don't even know how to use this thing yet, but, you know, I use Serum, so I have an idea of how this works. First oscillator is off, because it doesn't have a waveform to choose, and I can't FM anything with it, because here it says oscillator 2, FMing oscillator 3, and I'm using FM. So I only need to use oscillator 2 and 3. One can go home. So I don't know why there's 2 waveforms on oscillator 3. I literally have no idea. So oscillator 2, I just choose I didn't even think what waveform I was going to choose, to be honest. I just screwed around with it. Try to get a really gritty noise. I also made an envelope here where it does the wow kind of thing. And that is connected to the volume of oscillator 2 and 3, as well as the sub of oscillator 3. I don't know why there's a sub here, but I put some automation on that because it did contribute to the wow thing. Oh wait, that sub is the sub oscillator of oscillator 3. Oh, now this is why that's 2 waveforms. One's for the sub. Alright, I see.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
I didn't use any of LFO1, LFO2, or envelope 2, I just used envelope 1. And for the effects, I kind of broke the rules a bit. I used Camel Crusher and, you know, OTT. I know. But I did say it's only stock LMMS instruments. I didn't say stock LMMS instruments and effects.
Okay, so that's how it's gonna be.
Now, the reason I use OTT because there's no multi-band compressor in LMMS. At least I couldn't find one. If anyone can find one, please tell me. I want to use it. I use this to get a bit of thickness on all the frequencies. Not much depth, and that's it. I lowered the highs a bit to make it less annoying to the ear. And then I added a equalizer, which lowered the high ends a bit again to make it less screechy again. And then I have Camel Crusher on this preset, and I mess around. I put less tube distortion than the normal preset. Compression on fat mode, a lot of it, and the filter basically does nothing but with a bit of resonance. Actually, the filter does do something. I did automate the filter somewhere. Yeah, on the first one, here. Oh, never mind. I didn't. Let's turn that off.
Are you out of your goddamn...
Alright, on the master, we just mix the whole thing because you don't want a non-distorted growl mixed with a distorted growl that just sounds like really weird. You only do that with like reverb or other stuff. And the volume is lowered slightly because of all the distortions. It makes it so loud. Now, one thing I want to show you or teach you, something you might not know, is that the order of the effects actually matter. Like, if you have Camel Crusher at the end, equalizer in front, they sound different to if they were the other way around. Like, let me show you. In this order, they sound like this. Actually, I do need the filter. Actually, I don't need the filter. What am I doing? So it sounds like this. In this order. Now, if I was to put Camel Crusher before equalizer, it sounds like this. So you can hear the difference. Now, this is how it works. So when you make the sound, and then it goes into the effects chain, it goes through the OTT first. Then it goes to the equalizer second, and then the Camel Crusher at the end. When I did the equalizer, I lowered the high ends a bit, just to tame it a bit. But then I added another Camel Crusher, which bring those frequencies back up, because that's distortion for you. The equalizer doesn't affect the Camel Crusher. The Camel Crusher only goes after everything happens. But if I do it the other way around, Camel Crusher distorts everything, brings all the frequencies up, makes everything screechy and like that. And then I took everything and then lowered the high ends even of the distorted noises, and then it makes it sound less distorted, like this. And if I put it the other way around, it sounds more distorted. And I liked the distorted one because I needed that grit at the start. I needed a big hit. So for the automations, I have a pitch automation on the hits, so it goes like wow down an octave as soon as it hits. On the second one, I have an EQ. What if I have two of the same automations? What am I doing? With the equalizer, I also automated this invisible peak right here. If I leave it here and I play this, you can see that actually moves. See, I did automation with the last two automation tracks where I put peak 2, which is this peak, which does this, and then I have high pass, which is the band 1, which does a bit of high pass where it goes like wow, like that. That's how you get the growls to make vowel sounds with your mouth, like wow, 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 wow.
Wow.
Onto Zinad sub effects again. This one is the first sound I made. First growl I made in Zinad sub effects. I didn't know what I was doing. So let's see here. I only had one oscillator again. I don't know why you would need 8 voices. So I took a power wave, which is just the same saw wave, and I messed around with these harmonics knobs randomly, like literally randomly. It's like click, 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 drag, 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 done. And then I got this. And then that's all I did here. No, I actually added FM. So this FM has an FM oscillator, which is a sine wave, and I changed the phase a bit. So this is the normal sine wave, and then I moved it here. So it's kind of like a bell curve. And I put the modulation amplitude really low. I didn't want the FM to affect the noise too much, because if I put it up here, it sounds like this. So yeah, I had to turn it to 40, so it sounds better, like this. So it doesn't affect the noise as much, so that's what it sounds like. Now over here, I don't think I did anything, really. Nope, I don't think I did anything here. I didn't touch anything at all. That's it. Now for filter frequency, I put that on the max. Again, Camel Crusher, OTT, saturator, equalizer, and then a reverb at the end. I actually like half reverb more than 2x2 sometimes. 2x2 sounds weird. It's a bit of metallic bits in it if you turn it up too high. Now the equalizer is, again, being automated, I'm pretty sure. If I move this out of the way and you take a close look at that, that should be moving. Yep, you can see this high pass and bell curve 4 is moving with the wob. Yep, and then you have a saturator. You can just copy these settings. Then I have OTT with 20% depth, a bit of gain, in-gain, that would affect it more, and then Camel Crusher again. You know, you gotta have distortion. Look, so I'll show you how much Camel Crusher affects my sound. So with Camel Crusher, without Camel Crusher, so you see how much that affects it. Now let's take a look at the automations. We have...
What the f is that?
Why am I doing this again when I'm connecting the same thing a million times? I think Camel Crusher 4 is the filter. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's 0. 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it's automating the cutoff. Let's see if it does it on the GUI. Oh, you can see it move here. Look. Yep. That's automating a filter. Wop, 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 wop. And then you have this one. Camel Crusher 5. Alright, that's just a resonance of the same filter. Then you have high pass frequency. That's the equalizer I showed you just then where it was moving with the wob. And then another peak 2, which is from the exact same equalizer again. Now onto the last and final growl. This is not made by me, it's made by my collab partner because this is a collab song. He made this kind of sound. This is not actually the original. I altered it a bit, but that's kind of how it sounds originally. So in solo, it sounds like this. So it's a really wow again. And all I did here is nothing, basically. I forgot what I did, but this preset has 3 voices, all with weird waveforms. I guess he also messed around with the harmonics things, except he didn't mess around with the bottom stuff. I literally have no idea what these do. They just change this thing into this thing, and you can make growls with it. In the modulation section, he used PM for all of them. Now, I still have no idea what PM is. I guess it's some other modulation mode. But yeah, this basically added PM. So if I don't have PM on all 3 of them, they sound different. Literally inaudible, I don't know. So we do have to add the PM to make it more wubby. Now let's go back to this window. There is no frequency LFO. There's a frequency envelope though, so it has a bit of attack time, release time. Actually, it doesn't even matter much. And that's basically it. Nothing much. Now here I turn the filter frequency up to the max again, and there's 2 equalizers. One is for the general static equalizer used for mixing, and then you have this thing. What the heck is this thing? So all this does is an automation again, using a low pass frequency this time, which is band 8 on the LMMS equalizer. So it sounds like this. Wow, 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 like that. With the automations, you can see that it's moving. Yep, that's how it's moving. It's moving like that. That's it. Now in the growls, another OTT. Gotta have OTT, right? You know, OTT on everything. I did an equalizer with a deep cut here because the cut actually made it sound really nice. I don't know why. So with the cut, it sounds like this. Without the cut, it sounds like this. I don't know, there's not much difference, but you know, with the other growls, it does make a difference. Now off to the effects section. What is this? Oh yes, this is a short noise attack thing to compensate for the attack of this growl right here. Because I felt like this growl itself wasn't powerful enough, so I had to add this kind of thing to make it more punchy. So without it, it sounds like this. And with that, it sounds like this. So it kind of adds a bit of punch. Oh god, I forgot to add this bit over here. There we go. Nice. So all this is an FM thing, random thing with random stuff. This one's all the way down, minus 24 semitones. This one's up 8 semitones, oscillator 3 is turned off. Now we have a kind of volume envelope here. So this sound is meant to play an offbeat. So it would fill up the empty space that the growls weren't playing during the offbeats. So that was that. That was nothing but a bit of noise FM kind of thing. Now onto sidechain. I have a sidechain here, which is a trigger for my sidechain group. Now if you don't know what sidechain is, let me know. I'll make a video. I'll teach you everything about sidechaining, right? But to sum up what it does, it's basically a volume ducking thing. So you use it when you have a kick drum and then a drop, for example. When the kick plays, you want it to play as loud as possible, but if everything else is also playing at the time, it will drown out the sound of the kick. Now what this does is it plays It has no sound, but it's a trigger. It tells the computer that there's a note playing here. So it plays every beat the kick is playing. So when this plays, it tells the computer to shut down all the other sounds, all the sounds you assign to the sidechain, to be ducked, to be like quietened down, so the kick would shine out of everything, you know? You want the kick to be priority at all times. So let me show you what the sidechain does without the sidechain. Sounds pretty bad. Not really that pump energy. Now with the sidechain, it does a kind of effect where it makes it pumpy. But anyway, I'll show you what it is if you ask me. And here I did an envelope, kind of like volume shaper, but I don't have money to get volume shaper. So this is the shape I made using these parameters. So it ducks like this, and then it comes back up via the decay curve. Here you add a peak controller, and what this does, the peak controller takes the signal of when you're pressing the button. So when you're pressing the button, it says 1. And if you're not pressing the button, it says 0, for example. Of course, it's not really 0 and 1. There's velocity, like how hard you press it and stuff. And then that gets sent to the sidechain group, which everything that I want to be sidechain is sent to here. For example, let's take a look at the sub. The sub is sending down into sidechain, not to the master. You see there's nothing sent there. Then the bass is also there, the chords is also there, the arp is also there, vocals are not, the lead is sent to there, and then the sidechain with everything sent to it is sent to the master at the end. This sidechain level basically is the knob that turns down the volume of everything. And I connected it to controller 1. Now controller 1 is the peak controller. It's literally, this knob is connected to that. So whenever this note plays, you see how the sidechain level goes up? That's how it works. Now you can use peak controllers in any way you wish. You can be creative with it. You don't really have to use it with sidechaining. Yep, that's basically sidechaining. So now the whole thing sounds like this. Yeah, that's the whole drop. Yay. Yeah. If you guys did learn something, tell me in the comments. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.